term 29.
Apologies. And item 1, I've received apologies from Mr McQuillan, Mr McKay and Mr Rogers. Are members aware of any other apologies?
No.
Okay. Agenda item 2, minutes of the meeting of the 3rd of June. I cannot approve them until we have the full quorum, so I'll do that towards the end of our meeting. Agree?
Agreed.
We can't agree on it. Members, agenda item 3, which is correspondence. We've received this piece of correspondence from the Health Committee in relation to the Audit Office General Health Report. It's at page 10 of your electronic packs, and it's just the Health Committee writing to us to express their interest in the Audit Office report. That the PAC inquiry into the general health. So they have asked us to be informed of any outcome of the report when it is appropriate for us to do so. So this is just to note this piece of correspondence. So we're content to note the correspondence from the Health Committee. Agreed. Agenda item 4 is matters arising, and there are no new matters arising. Can I get the ministerial decisions? We do the MORs. Yeah. Kieran, you're very welcome today with your team. We're not fully quorate, so we can't make a decision on some of the issues, but we're going to advance with the parts of the meeting that we can. The Shackleton Barracks one. You can tell. Yeah. Okay, members, agenda item 5, which is at page 16 of your electronic packs. It's a ministerial direction in relation to Shackleton, the Shackleton site in Ballykelly. It's a ministerial direction from the Office of the First and Deputy First Minister, setting out the disposal strategy for the sale of the Shackleton site in Ballykelly. The disposal strategy involves the immediate sale of the site going through the normal business case. And the First and Deputy First Minister have chosen this strategy as they believe it will maximise the value from the site through the creation of jobs, and that the price secured for the site is therefore secondary. On page 14 of your packs,
the price is secondary. Is it going to some sort of open sale process, or is it being handed to some bidder?
Well, from the letter, it's open sale. Kieran, maybe do you want to comment?
My reading of it is open sale, so we'll track the sale process, and if there's any issues, we will report back.
There seems to be disposal rather than anything else. It's disposal at any cost because of the costs incurred in maintaining it.
Yes.
Apart from the Dart site and
yes, and the NI Water one, yeah.
Chairperson, can I ask maybe through you, this site was bought by the First Minister, I think, and there was a ministerial directive then for the acquisition of it, sorry.
Now let me think.
Yes.
There was another ministerial direction, but I think that was on the Dart side, on the Ballykelly. The movement to Ballykelly. That's a separate issue.
I think though, John, it says here that the Deputy First Minister blocked the first sale. It says in these notes.
Yeah.
That there was that was blocked.
The Dard is going to occupy a small section of it as Ordinary Water, but the site's 900 acres. And I just wonder, from a value for money aspect, maybe somebody will tell me. My understanding was that the reason why the First Deputy First Minister acquired the site was to produce a master plan and to thoroughly investigate what was the best future for it. And at one time there was plans certainly that could have involved a whole range of activities, maybe creating hundreds if not thousands of jobs. Now, if I understand this right, they're just going to flog it off to speculators. I mean, is that some oversimplification of what's happening?
No, we haven't looked at this, Chair, in any detail, but it is something I think we'll put the slide rule over as one. I'm certainly not clear as what the no, not cited on the original proposals, but something we can certainly look into.
Would it not be a case, Chair, that, I mean, there's decontamination costs if they were to do certain things to the site as well? And I mean, looking at what I've seen here briefly, it looks as if it's going to cost too much for them to do anything else with it. They have allocated a portion to Dart, allocated a portion to NI Water, and the rest, I think John's quite right, they're going to flog it off. You buy it at your own risk. Basically, that if it requires the relevant clean-up or whatever, that's down to you.
Well, the original ministerial direction was because of the unknown contamination costs.
Yeah,
I remember right.
There's certainly, yeah. And this was an issue not just here, but on other military sites.
Yes.
So they were transferred from MOD.
That was fine.
A free good, but there's that liability of clean-up, which was at the outset wasn't quantified. So, which I guess it could be quite substantial.
Yep.
Now, we're not cited on the details of this one, but it's something we will look at.
Sorry, Chairperson, I think it's worth my labouring on this a wee bit. We do know that there were 63 expressions of interest in the site, but we weren't told, what they were. So there's no way of being able to evaluate what value they might have been. But there are other issues on that site, including the agriculture land, where there's pumping stations that are needed to ensure that a substantial portion of the site isn't returned to the sea. There are some people, of course, who would argue maybe that's the best thing to do with it. But my own notion is, I've been on the site on several occasions, it's the most beautiful part, overlooking the Foyle. I thought there was tourist potential for a hotel there. I know the railway runs through it, and there is an aspiration that perhaps during the night, goods could move in and out. The airport's right beside it. Indeed, so close to it that recently there was an airline landed in the wrong place. But look, I'm trying to think of this purely from a public accounts point of view. I wouldn't want some future PEC to have to deal with a situation where this was flogged off to a speculator, then overnight it doubled in price, and at the end of the day we learn that there were alternatives to selling it off in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're absolutely right.
Now, sorry, I'm not to cut across you, sorry for this. I do know that departmental officials have been scurrying around in the last couple of weeks about a master plan, something that should have happened several years ago, and it didn't happen. Now, if it ends up being sold off and that's the only alternative for it, I would be extremely disappointed, because it suggested to me that this was a marvellous opportunity to create something on the ground that would have been good not just for Ballykelly or Limavady, but for the whole northwest. And it seems rather sad that it's come to nothing. But I do understand it's costing £400,000 a year, and that obviously has to be a concern for the Office of First and Deputy First Minister. That's true. But I do wonder why, or are they not telling us has everything else been explored? I don't know. I'm just lost.
Well, I suppose all we can go on is the note that we have to Mark Brown from the First and Deputy First Minister.
Well, the very fact that there's a direction on it is a trigger to get us interested in it.
Roy?
And just from a public accounts point of view, again, there is an annual £400,000 a year cost in security, so that has to be taken into consideration as a bearing. What happens to, as long as it's sold in an open and transparent process, that will be fine. Whether it goes up in value or the purchaser loses money in the long term, we cannot say, as long as it is bought in a, as I say, in an open system, a competitive system. I think that's where our interest should be.
Is any development potential on it, how that's catered for through clawback? Well, I think our understanding, as is, it's essentially agricultural land at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, and just the letter to the accounting officer does cite that the site was previously on the open market and the sale was blocked by OFMDFM as it wouldn't have brought the funds or the jobs that they felt. The same could happen again maybe if it did go into the open market, am I right, Kieran? I mean,
It could depend on the, how healthy the market is.
That's probably why it's worded in such a way, as Josh says, plug it off.
Absolutely. Okay, members, this is to note, and Kieran, you did say you will keep.
No, we'll certainly keep a track on
Brief
it,
on
and
it.
if there are any issues or monitor any sale and come back as appropriate.
Well, certainly, Chairperson, I'm not sure if it's appropriate, probably it's not. I would like my concerns reflected in whatever.
Really, in terms of, if I get it right, is that all the alternative options were fully explored
Correct.
before we got to this point?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because Trevor now.
Good evening.
We are fully court now, and John, if you do want those that reflect it and any of the those concerns, I'm sure it's
Evening.
concerned by all of the committee feels the same. Okay, members, moving on, agenda item 6 is the update on the MOR in relation to the Agri-Food and Bioscience Institute, which is at page 19 of your electronic packs. This is correspondence from DARD outlining progress on the implementation of our recommendations made in our PAC report into the Agri-Food and Biosciences. The update is very largely positive. It's a very good one. All 6 recommendations were initially accepted by AFB, and work is now ongoing to implement all of these, and good progress has been made in most of the areas. However, one area where some difficulties are being encountered is around the benchmarking of corporate costs and scientific testing unit costs, where it is proving difficult to identify comparator organisations and then to get them to cooperate on that. Kieran, do you want to make any comment on the MOR?
Like yourself, Chair, I think it's largely positive, and the report has already had some impact. So certainly they've knocked $1 million off the corporate overheads there, and staff costs have come down. So they're sorting out their costs and systems. So I think there's a lot of good work going on, and I think that's fair enough. They say they've difficulty getting comparative benchmarking, but everybody knows that costs are high and they need to drive them down. Benchmarking is just a comparator using that. So that's not the most important of the recommendations.
No.
It's actually to have a hard look at all the costs is the main thing.
Okay, members, this is to note this correspondence, so we agreed. Okay, members, agenda item 7, which is the inquiry into primary care prescribing, and this is correspondence received from the TOA, which is at page 38 of your packs, your electronic packs. The correspondence is in response to a request from the committee for clarification around one of the responses contained in the initial MOR from the department into the inquiry into primary care prescribing. The response in question was to recommendation 2, and the committee asked whether DHSSPS published benchmarking data per GP practice. The TOA in his responses pointed out to data already published on the Business Services Organisation website, which the HSC boards then produce quarterly benchmarking reports. The TOA has also stated that the HSE board plans to publish a range of further GP prescribing indicators by December this year, and this action would appear to be to meet the committee's recommendations. So again, that's a positive going forward, that will be done, that they will further publish a range of GP prescribing indicators. So I think that's largely positive. Kieran?
Indeed.
Yeah, it was probably a little bit of a stretch to say that already implemented it.
Yeah.
What they're now saying will have been implemented in December.
Yeah. We'll get there eventually. Okay, members, we can tend to note that correspondence. And can I go back to the minutes of the last meeting? And if members are content, can I sign them into the record?
Ready?
Agreed. Members, for the next item of business, we have to go into closed session. Can we get an agreement to do that? Okay, we're in closed.
This is the Northern Ireland Assembly, Committee Room 29.